Okay, if everybody wants to grab a chair, we'll get going. I just want to open up by saying how pleased we are to have the HUD Secretary here. He's getting out and about and doing exactly what he should do, but obviously everybody wants him to come to their place first, and so the fact that he's already here in our great state is just really appreciated. So thanks so much, Secretary. And this is, he's got a chance to see a couple of the really great affordable housing properties that have been put together. A lot of you obviously have been involved with that. Certainly Dan Madler and Beyond Shelter and Aaron and all the great work your team has done. Really, I'm so glad that you got a chance to see it, Secretary, because you know, as you go around the country, you don't have to compare notes, but I think it's good at a national level. The work that these folks are doing is really incredible. And the key with HUD is they got great tools. Two of them, my favorites, are the low-income housing tax credit, which we just boosted by 12% in the One Big Beautiful Bill, which is very helpful. I think that's incredibly powerful, and you all have used it very well. And we want to make sure you can use even more. That additional funding will do another 1.2 million homes above what we're currently doing. And the Secretary will touch on that, I'm sure. And the other is the voucher, Section 8 voucher, which just empowers people. And we've seen programs now, which is so cool, where they can come in, they can get the services they need, and then they may take that voucher and move on to another type of affordable housing. And that's what we want. That's how you make things work. So I'm really proud of you all for showing HUD Secretary Turner what you're doing. And then I just want to make sure that from my standpoint, we're getting any and all tools from you that we can, as you look at your toolbox and what you're going to work on to do more of, and make sure that we get it out to the team, to all these great people doing so much great work. So let's see. I've already forgot for sure. I think, but when I always go to the mayor, no matter what. So the governor, I mean. So no matter what, I'm going to Kelly Armstrong. We got instructions upstairs, as usual, with a relatively short attention span. I forgot most of it. So when in doubt, always go to the governor.
I appreciate that, Senator Hoeven, and Secretary Turner. Thank you for being here. This is one of those things that we have spent a lot of time in North Dakota talking about. We have over 10,000 units that are supported in some way by HUD. We're trying to do our part in the state. We did $25 million in housing incentive and $10 million for homeless grants. We had a really cool and unique new housing program that may just take one extra session to get passed. But in some communities in North Dakota, we've had housing challenges for well over 25 years. And my message is thanks for being here. Thank you for being willing to work. And as always, I think one of the questions, there's a lot of people around this table that have heard me say this when we talk about affordable. What is affordable housing in Fargo is different than what's affordable housing in Hillsborough, is different than what's affordable housing in Dickinson. So we can spend, as somebody spent 6 years in DC, I will tell you, we can spend less money with more flexibility. We can help save the federal government money, and we can do it better as long as we have as much flexibility and options to work with your agency as much as possible. And we're here to, there's a ton of people that have forgotten more about this than I will ever know around this table. So I'm excited to have you here.
He always says that, but you got to watch out, Secretary. He knows a lot, so just be careful on that one. Okay, Mayor Mahoney, great to be in your fair city. We were in West Fargo earlier, and it's just great to be with you all and see all the great things you're doing.
Thank you, Senator, as always, and I'm very excited that you brought the Secretary Turner here today. That's a great honor for our city, and I think you come from the Texas area, kind of understand flatland and higher areas, so it helps us out.
He lives in Frisco. Have you ever been there?
Yeah, several times. In fact, we had a very favorable trip the last time.
Yes, we did.
He did. And I want to, Senator Hoeven, we've been working on HUD policies for quite some time and working on different things that go on in our community. You have an unusual circumstance in Fargo is that we have 20% growth in the last 10 years, and we have continued growth in the metro area. And what we're evolving in is we've got a lot of jobs, a lot of people coming in there. There was a governor at one time that says jobs, 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 and that's exactly what happened. And so, well, we got a lot of people coming to our state, and then we have the discrepancies of how many jobs you have and how much housing do you have. I want to thank Governor Armstrong because he did put affordable housing into his bills, and he was generous enough. We got a couple of grants that helped us out in our homeless population as well. And he gave me about $400,000 to work with in that area, and he's also helping us out in many of our projects. I think when we talk about that, in our community, I think that Senator Hoven knows that, we try to work flexibly with people and try to work different programs. So we'll work with the private sector, we'll work with the federals, and we'll work state, we'll work local, we'll work any kind of methodology we can do to make it happen. And Nicole Crutchfield, when she speaks, she'll speak to some things that make it go faster. That's what we love. We love anything fast. So we like to make things move faster in many of these areas, and that's very important to us. When Aaron and I and Chris talk, the other thing, the vouchers help us out so much more that we're able to do stuff. We're really excited. We've got a 120 apartment building coming up next spring, right, Chris? And voucher is where it's going to fill those places. And I don't know how many people you got on the waiting list. We got way too many on the waiting list, but we've got a lot of people that have to do that. So we're kind of one of those unique markets. We have tremendous growth, hot real estate market, high demand, growing population. And it's exactly the area that you'd like to attack. It's like an area like, what can I do in this area and make it better and make it work better? And that's what we try to do. We take the challenges that come to us. Oftentimes we'll bring it to the state, we'll bring it to the feds, try to, how can we make this work better? And so in many of our areas, we feel we've had great successes. My neighbor in West Fargo, Bernie Dardis, also has done great work. So we're having great things happen in our community. So we're looking forward to today. We hope we can share you with some different things. You do have a pamphlet here. It's a lot of reading, but when you're on your flight back, maybe you'll want to read it and do that. And then Senator Hoven always demands that I get chippers because these are chocolate-covered potato chips. Oh. And if there's one thing you remember about the trip, you'll remember about the chippers, okay? And you're kind of in good shape, but maybe somebody will have those. But we've been giving the chippers out now for years when anybody comes because it's kind of unique in our environment, and we just hope that that's a hospitality that you can live with. Thank you very much for coming today, and I'll let the other experts tell you what else is going on.
A life hack for chippers is to put them in the freezer.
If your staff gets near the chippers, you won't have to worry because you won't get any. They go real fast.
Yes, sir.
So, Secretary, we're just honored to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. Can y'all hear me? Thank you, Senator and Governor and mayors. Really grateful for your hospitality. Everyone in North Dakota has been wonderful to work with. My team and I have really enjoyed even the process of planning this trip. It was great, and you know, as the servant leader of HUD, to come in and everything has been done at such a level of excellence says a lot, not just about our team at HUD, but it says a lot about those that are hosting us. And so thank you for being so gracious. And Tim Geithner and Tim is our regional administrator who you'll hear from. And he is our hands and feet and our ambassador for HUD on the ground here in the region. And the reason why we want to bring our team from HUD, not just from Washington, but also here locally with Tim and Jackie, is because we're not just here today, but we want to ensure that we have people here for the long haul. And so Tim and Jackie, thank y'all for being here, and thank you for the team from DC. You know, we've had a great day so far touring two wonderful places, one that is dedicated to senior housing. They have beautiful residents there to stay, to call home, and the partnership that's been created there is what I love to see, public-private partnerships coming together to serve the people that it's intended to serve. And also another beautiful partnership that we just toured for our homeless women and children, which is very near and dear to my heart on a couple different levels, which I don't have a lot of time to talk about, but that was very personal for me. And to see the American taxpayer dollars being used for their intended purpose and to serve those to whom it's been intended to serve is very encouraging to me. And so I thank everyone who has worked so diligently for many years, and some of you for just a short time. But I think the results that we saw today in the two projects that we had an opportunity to tour speak very well for those public-private partnerships. You know, HUD, when we came to HUD, the first thing we want to do is take inventory of all of the programs that we have at HUD. HUD has a tremendous budget, but historically has not been completing the assignment in such a way in serving the people that it was intended to serve, not only to my liking, but to the American taxpayer and those who we've been called to serve. And so we want to take inventory of every program to make sure that those programs are helping us to achieve the goals that we set out. And the programs that do help us, you know, obviously we want to strengthen those. And the ones that aren't helping us achieve that mission, then obviously we don't need those anymore. I say that because I want to be very intentional. I played in the National Football League for 9 years, and they have a thing called film. And the film tells the story. It doesn't matter what you say, Governor, when you come off the field, because the film on Monday would tell exactly what happened. And so I say that because it's that type of scrutiny that I'm used to. And it's that type of accountability and transparency that I expect, because it breeds excellence. And so I've been watching a lot of film. And we want to make sure that the Department of Housing and Urban Development is carrying out our mission in the way that we've been called to carry it out. And, you know, HUD is not a micromanager, because we never want to say there's a one-size-fit-all program for all of America. Can I get an amen from anybody?
Sure.
And so HUD is a great convener. It's a great facilitator. We are good at bringing people to the table, as you can see, to bring all the stakeholders together, to identify what the issues are, and then come up with sustainable solutions, long-term sustainable solutions. And that's what HUD's assignment is. And so that's why we're here today. And I want to be a great listener after I finish my remarks. I want to be a great listener and hear what's going on in this great state with all of you that are here at the table. Thank you for taking time to be here, by the way. And when you talk about self-sustainability, you talk about self-sufficiency, and you think about under President Trump's leadership and the One Big Beautiful Bill, when I look at how North Dakota is impacted from this legislation, in my notes it says that the One Big Beautiful Bill will increase North Dakota wages by $3,000 to $6,000 per family, and it will protect at least 18,000 jobs. I come from a family of hardworking people. How about y'all? And so anytime you can sustain and create jobs, I'm all for that, and to promote independence and self-sufficiency. I have family members that have grown up on Section 8, family members that have been homeless. My wife grew up on Section 8 and put herself through college and grad school, and I've had other family members who have done the same. And so we want to not create a lifestyle of government subsidies, but instead let it be a trajectory to help those people that we serve live lives of self-sustainability and self-sufficiency, not a hammock, but a trampoline. I like for people to be launched to fulfill their potential. And that's my heart and my mindset at HUD. So thank y'all for your partnership, and thank you for being here today. I yield my time to you, sir.
Thanks, Secretary. Great to have you. Tim, let's go to you and maybe just kind of go around and have folks introduce themselves, if that'd be okay, and then we may come and have a few present a little bit longer and do just some Q&A, if that works.
Sure. So I'm Tim Geithner. I am the Regional Administrator for Housing and Urban Development in this region, Region 8. I do have business cards, so if anybody would like to have some follow-up questions or connect with me, I was just here 2 weeks ago. I will certainly be back again in the not too distant future, but I encourage you, if something does come up, I'm happy to engage, and if I don't have the answer, which there's a good chance I don't, but I guarantee you someone on the team at Housing and Urban Development does. So I'll make sure that every one of you has a card before I leave, but thank you for your time today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jackie Gerard. I'm the acting North Dakota State Director. Thanks for having me today.
Good afternoon. I am Brandon Detloff. I am the Executive Director of the North Dakota Housing Finance Agency. We are the facilitator of most of our HUD programs in our state. As Governor Armstrong said, we also have some state programs that we help use for some gap fillers.
Good morning, or good morning. It's the fifth time I've said good morning. My day is that way. Welcome to the state, Commissioner. My name is Maria Efforts. I work with the Department of Commerce. Department of Commerce actually holds the CDBG funds and actually the Manufactured Housing Installation Program, which is a hidden gem. If you were looking for things to keep, it's a very strong program. We appreciate the flexibility in CDBG, and we shared with Regional Administrator Gettner that, but happy to talk more about where we see some issues that could probably be fixed.
Hello, my name is Dan Madler, and I'm the CEO of Beyond Shelter, a mission-driven nonprofit affordable housing developer, quality affordable housing.
I'm Chris Brungard, Fargo Housing Authority, and Senator, I'm sorry I don't have another 22-story building for you to explode here today, but we do have a backhoe ready for another
22-story
building.
It was fun. You should have been here.
I didn't get an invitation.
Okay,
All right, next time.
next time.
Good afternoon. Thanks for being here. My name is Nicole Crutchfield. I'm the planning director for the city of Fargo, and we administrate the HUD allocations on behalf of the city of Fargo.
My name is Tanya Taylor. I'm the executive director at the Housing Authority of Cass County, where we administer many programs from HUD as well.
And Derek Johnson, also with the Housing Authority of Cass County. As the governor mentioned, North Dakota is very different. We have a unique model. We manage housing authorities in Hillsborough, in Dickinson, in Fargo, in Cavalier, and in Ashley, North Dakota. And so we see a little bit of every size and sphere of the North Dakota economy. And we're very, very excited for the opportunity to utilize the various tools that HUD provides and the state provides to meet those housing needs in very, very diverse communities throughout the state.
Hi, my name is Katie Jo Armbrust, and I work for the Grand Forks Housing Authority. I'm here today on behalf of my boss, who's on vacation enjoying the warm weather. I'm the Director of Program Development and Advocacy, and our organization is a little bit more unique. Grand Forks is about an hour north of here without traffic. And we have a lot of vouchers, different voucher programs, and when you said the word launch, it reminded me of one of the programs that's very successful is what we call Launch, and that's our Family Self-Sufficiency Program. We've had a lot of folks who've graduated from that program with more than $30,000 that they can utilize towards home ownership, purchasing a vehicle, student loans, things of that nature, so thankful to be here.
Good afternoon. My name is Chandler Esslinger, and I am the Executive Director of the Fargo-Moorhead Coalition to End Homelessness. We collaborate across the state of North Dakota and western Minnesota to align efforts between housing providers, healthcare providers, nonprofits, law enforcement, and local leaders, building a coordinated and cost-effective system to end homelessness.
Good afternoon. My name is Rob Swears. I'm the Executive Director at New Life Center here in Fargo. New Life Center is a faith-based rescue mission. We've been serving folks who are homeless and in need here in the Fargo-Moorhead area for 118 years. We have short-term programs aimed at emergency shelter, and then longer-term programs aimed at helping folks get back on their feet, as well as an addiction recovery program.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Brent Ekstrom. I'm the Executive Director of the Lewis and Clark Development Group. The Lewis and Clark Development Group is based out of Mandan, North Dakota, but is a statewide organization. It's actually 4 separate organizations that do community and economic development. We've been doing this since the early 70s, and so in my 24 years of doing this, I've used CDBG, LIHTC, Home, 8BB. I'm not sure what all other products we've used. We do everything from single-family down payment closing and cost assistance loans to commercial lending to we also do multifamily development. Like Dan, we're one of the very few nonprofit multifamily developers in the state using LIHTC as one of our key tools for doing that. We also do property management. And we only do property management for income-based properties, so we do a lot with the vouchers and the 8BBs and stuff like that, so across the state.
Alphabet Soup. I'm Erin Prochnow. I'm the CEO at the YWCA. It's good to have you here. Thank you for being here, Mr. Secretary. Thank you for convening us and for visiting our place earlier today, where you learned about domestic violence and its impact on homelessness. In fact, domestic violence and sexual assault are the leading causes of homelessness in women and children in our country. And so YWCA has developed a full continuum of services from homeless prevention to emergency shelter to short-term rental assistance to permanent housing, all under one roof, with a host of supportive services available by creating partnerships with so many around this table that I now consider my friends and colleagues. Each day in Fargo, we provide 350 women and children safety and opportunity to hit that trampoline and springboard out of homelessness. And I think what I would say, similar to Rob, we've been in the community since 1906, and our roots are absolutely in housing, but in those empowerment services and in the wraparound that happens. We, like others, have used pretty much every tool in the toolbox and just continue that encouragement to make those tools available so that we can springboard people out of homelessness.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary Margaret Mooney, a member of the Sisters of the Presentation. At this time in my life, I'm not running any agency or overseeing any program. I'm neither begging for money nor giving it away. Nevertheless, I have a great interest in the matters being discussed here today. A great country is great because of its attentiveness to its most vulnerable people. And I believe strongly in the foundational principles of this particular great country in which we live. Foundational principles live when they're the basis of policy and practices, which may add to the abundance of those that got a lot, but must add to provide enough, rather, to those who have too little. When affordable, safe, stable housing is accessible, families are much more likely to flourish. Research studies have demonstrated that the #1 reason persons return to abusive situations and often are reluctant to leave them is the need for housing. Thus, it's very important that HUD programs which have supported housing for victims of domestic violence not lose that part of their mission. Amen.
Hey, Sister.
Good afternoon, Senator, Mr. Secretary. Pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning.
Yes, sir.
Morning, afternoon. Did it again. Cass County Commission typically provides incentives provided by the North Dakota Legislature to work with organizations like Mr. Madler for low-income housing programs. Some of them require up to 15 to 17 years to make the numbers work with the federal tax credits. Traditionally, we've been very supportive of those type of arrangements, also working with the private sector and our other political subdivision partners like Fargo and West Fargo. So as we look to the future, we're excited about what the new bill means and continuing to enhance that, because housing is a priority not only for Fargo and West Fargo, but for the entire rural Cass County, where a lot of residents live. And the commute patterns of folks that live within 30, 45 minutes is pretty intense. If you take off on an airplane in the morning, about the time the light's coming up, you see all the headlights coming in. We are truly a regional economy.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mr. Secretary, I want to thank you for the time that you spent with us in West Fargo today. It was truly a pleasure to host you and your team. Thank you for the time that you spent with us. Senator Hoban, thank you for making this happen, and Governor Armstrong for participating as well. The thing that I'm most excited about today, other than obviously having the opportunity to meet with you, is to share these wonderful people that we have around this table. Yes, sir. We work with them in different capacities throughout the year. They are truly servant leaders. They are the reason that the metropolitan area that we live in and the great state of North Dakota, what we have. It's because of their convictions for their fellow man and their dedication to what they do. So my joy is to introduce you to my friends that are around this table and the wonderful work they do. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So we'd like to build more affordable housing in North Dakota, not only in urban areas like Fargo and Grand Forks, Bismarck, and other larger communities, but also in our rural areas. So this is your chance, everybody. We have we have the man here. This is the Secretary of HUD. And I mean, the good tools that we have are the HUD tools. So this is our chance to talk to very directly to the Secretary about what do we need that will help us do more, okay? What do we need that will help us do more? He, you know, as we've gone around, he's made very clear that he, and I love the sports film analogy, because there's always what you think happened, there's always what you say happened, and there's always what happened. And so you said it just right. And so all these folks have been making good things happen. But we want to do more of it. So I want them to have this opportunity to talk to you straight up about what tools are working, what tools they need more of, and could maybe, you know, ways maybe they could be more effective, and then, you know, and what things, you know, I mean, you can't just say, well, we just want more of everything. That's not how life works. The demand for resources will always exceed the resources available. It's just the nature of it, right? So how do we prioritize as the resources in a way where we're putting more into the resources that are the most powerful, and then maybe not doing as much the others, because we have to have, again, you know, the ability to fund the things that really move the needle. I'm just going to open it up, but Dan Madler, you've been remarkably creative. You work with pretty much everybody here. And we talked about you having the secret sauce, but you do. And that, you know, so you're very skilled in this whole area. So let's just start with you, and then I really do want it to be open, and of course, always, Secretary, anytime, you know, you got a question or an observation or whatever, you know, as Ross Perot says, we're all ears, you know. But if we could, Dan, would you start and maybe tell the Secretary, you know, what would empower us?
No pressure there, Senator Hoven. Thank you, Senator Hoven. And first, I guess before I even start about maybe some possible solutions on how we can leverage up resources, I do have to acknowledge and say Senator Hoven, Mayor Mahoney, Mayor Dardis, and Governor Armstrong, and Commissioner Grinberg, and everybody here at the table here. It truly is a partnership relationship, and nobody can do anything, and Beyond Shelter can't do anything without partnerships and relationships to move the needle. And obviously, you know, how do we move the needle? Honestly, it's a supply. That's the solution. We need to turn on the supply spigot. And to do that, we also need to unlock and leverage up all of the available tools that we have to produce housing. You know, HUD plays a critical role in this effort, and, you know, the federal resources that are provided to the state are minimal, but they're all we have. We get $3 million of CDBG, approximately $3 million of home, approximately $3 million of tax credits, which will go up from the big beautiful bill to maybe $4 million, and then we get $3 million of housing trust fund. Those are the tools of the federal resources that we have. And then now we're matching it with the North Dakota Housing Incentive Fund, which is a powerful tool. And then on the operational side, the subsidies or the payment in lieu of taxes come. It all works together, but essentially, with the limited resources of HUD, we need your help. We need to cut red tape. We need to make the system more efficient and effective, and maximize their impact. Put the dollars to work instead of paying the dollars or putting the dollars towards red tape and paperwork and pushing paper. And so with that, I'm not going to talk about or dive too deep, but I do have 4 recommendations. I'll list what they are, and I'll provide Jessica Lee, Senator Hoven's state director, with more detail and context. But I would say one of the things that could really move the needle and help put the money into housing would be to remove the Build America, Buy America requirements from federal housing programs. Removing those requirements would allow for more efficient use of federal dollars and enable the construction of more affordable housing units here in North Dakota and nationally. I would say you really need to look at and modernize the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, to accelerate affordable housing development. eliminate Section 3 requirements from federal housing programs, and also eliminate Davis-Bacon requirements from federal housing programs. You know, honestly, here in North Dakota, the employment is very low as far as everybody's employed. Wages are being paid. That's not the issue. But when we're out there bidding, developments are putting things out to bid, this is the paperwork. It adds $50,000 to $100,000 of paperwork to the bid. That's just wasting money. They're already getting paid. It's like, hey, let's put those dollars to increase available funding. And so I do thank you, Secretary Turner, for your time and thoughtful consideration of these policy considerations. I would say that the city of Fargo is experiencing mounting pressure to meet the housing needs of its growing population, as well as the state of North Dakota is facing unique challenges in delivering housing across both the urban and the rural communities. And so your leadership at HUD is essential to unlock the full potential of those federal housing programs, CDBG, Home Housing Trust Fund. And that would definitely help, basically help produce the affordable housing that we so urgently need here. So with that, I will pass the baton to anybody else that wants to provide some policy recommendations.
Unless the secretary has a question for you, let's jump over to Nicole, the planning director for city.
Thank you. Again, no pressure. But welcome so much for coming today. Your leadership and service for all of you is so welcomed and needed. And I've been the planning director for the city of Fargo for 7 years, but I've been working with the city for 18 years. And I've been in the land development business for 33 years. And to echo what Dan is saying, I have a few other recommendations to add to that list. But to bring it into more of a real life understanding, this last year we had to actually stop 3 projects because of some of the red tape and difficulties based on choice limiting actions and environmental, when we're trying to compete against a hot real estate market and acquire land. And some of these projects take 3 to 5 years to get all the legs together in order to be eligible even for a CDBG or home project. Often those pre-steps harm the developer in being able to build their project. And not only that, Section 3 limited us from a habitat project being able to start because nobody would bid on the project because the simplified acquisition threshold wasn't able to be met. And so whether we're talking about a twin home that's built by Habitat or a multi-72 unit complex, the new construction processes have become so burdensome that they're near impossible to happen and under the timeliness test. So what we would recommend is get rid of the timeliness test. We had that barrier, we were able to reduce that barrier during the pandemic. That gave us a really good example of how that barrier is holding us. We've actually been in a workout plan once before, and we've come near close in past years with just dollars within months and weeks being spent. And I would say our staff, we have 5 decades of working with CDBG allocations. I'm the 3rd generation of administration team, and the other administrators are still in our community that we can use for technical assistance. Our assistants, we actually put about another 500,000, if not 900,000, of general fund dollars to support the administration of HUD dollars. Most small towns, most entitlements, Bismarck, Grand Forks, Minot, cannot do that general fund subsidy that we do in Fargo. So we're extremely lucky that we have the resources to be able to contribute in here, but most small rural states in Region 8 can't. And so when I talk to my peers in Bismarck and Grand Forks and Minot, they're struggling in the administration of this. And we're extremely thankful for the program because, as Dan said, if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have anything, and we have to leverage these monies to get the full bang for the buck. So We've repurposed our strategic plan. We just submitted our con plan. It's in review right now. And our action plan, it's in review right now. And we had to pivot our strategy to do no more new construction in order to be able to focus on infrastructure in our core neighborhoods and to start with the tenant-based rental assistance program, because we can't meet timeliness with new construction projects any longer due to the difficulty. And one last rule I would talk about is the 500-year flood limitations pretty much applies to all of the city of Fargo. And so now we have an additional 8 steps that we have to proceed with as part of the environmental review. So I will conclude my time. I will just say we have some of the most talented staff. Our veteran staff in this program are some of the most talented technical staff in the country. We often trump the trainers on the program. To administer this program, it requires environmental law expertise, engineering expertise, construction expertise, architecture expertise, and we have that, and now we can access that. And so I would just like to offer our staff would love the opportunity to work with other regional administrators, et cetera, to figure out how we can make this work more quickly.
Nicole, the Senator had just a question about the 500 flood issue. What is the issue on the 500-year flood?
Someone could probably explain it, but I can't cite regulation off the top of my head in this setting.
You're restricted in building certain areas?
Yeah, so it's a new final rule that went into place in April.
We're working on that.
All right.
Yeah, is that something that would be taken care of once the diversion's completed?
No. Well, so right now, we are waiting for EPA, FEMA, and HUD to make a determination.
Well, I think it's some of the regulatory burden thing. I'm pretty optimistic, aren't you, Secretary? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, that's not lost on us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just part of the regulatory. And I'll just interject right here because I want to hear everybody. You know, the regulatory environment has to get better. And we started that at HUD already, you know, because, thank you, I'm glad you're seeing it. And we're not done. There's other things that you all have mentioned that we're working on as we speak. There's certain things I can't share right now. But it's not lost on us how heavy the regulatory environment is and how it cripples the building industry. And I would encourage, and I do encourage everywhere I go, and I've been a lot of places already, that local municipalities, mayors, economic development, take inventory of your regulatory environment, because that's what we're doing at HUD. You know, what's crippling the building industry? What's causing developers not to be able to build? You know, are there height restrictions? What are the energy restrictions? All of these things. And so if we can do that as a team from the federal, state, and local standpoint, you know, to look at all the regulations, you know, 40% of building a multifamily, where are my multifamily guys? Right, 40% of the cost is regulation. 25% in single family is regulation. Who can sustain that? Right, and so I say all that to say that it's not lost on me and our team, but the regulatory environment must get better. And it's gonna start with us, and we've already started. And so I encourage mayors, economic development leaders to let's take inventory and see how we can free up innovation and creativity and ingenuity, what made our country great, you know, instead of crippling building. So anyway, thank you, Nicole.
No, Secretary, that's right on. I mean, I hear that from the builders too. I mean, I hear it all the time, that they want to build more affordable housing, and they can't build it in a more affordable way because of all the regulations that go into that house. It's a big percentage of the cost now. Like you said, it's kind of mind-boggling. Governor Armstrong, from your standpoint, first I'd say I think Lee Zeldin, your former colleague, is hard on helping with the regulatory stuff. But I also just want to kind of check with you from, you know, your agencies and all, and the programs you've put forward. And I know you made housing a priority in the legislative session. Do you want to kind of jump in here?
Yeah, I even got some of it from the legislature. No, I think, I mean, some of this you're hearing isn't your agency, but one of the things I think we really appreciate about the Trump administration is, I've said this before, it's one thing when you communicate back down to us, it's that you communicate with each other.
We do.
You know, NEPA reform, it doesn't matter if it's surface transportation, any linear transportation, any of that, we can deal with that. I think the Buy American thing is interesting in that, you know, this isn't necessarily this part of the meeting, but we wouldn't have had Addiction Center built in Turtle Mountain if we wouldn't have got a waiver for that under the last administration. So even if there's not a reason, I mean, we all want to buy American, we all want to build American, but there are certain scenarios with a short construction season, even if you don't eliminate it, having a waiver process that is realistic with a short, we're not Frisco, Texas. We like coming to Frisco in January, 'cause pretty cold up here. Our construction season, compared to how federal money moves out, is really difficult to do that. And then, again, and this isn't so much a Fargo issue, because we can do it here, but the ability to scale in small communities is what keeps us from being able to do some affordable housing in small. And for our part, we've done, I think, a really good job under then Governor Burgum, now Secretary Burgum, of getting the finish work, of figuring out how to do CT and figuring out how we can start training more people to do, because all the resources in the world don't go anywhere if we don't have somebody to swing a hammer, build a shingle, do those things, and get everybody there. But again, I will just say, the more flexibility and velocity in which we can get the funding means we can do more with less. And we do it well here, and it's unique. I mean, some of our small what people in DC consider a small community is Bismarck. What we consider a small community is Almont. And I mean, and we're blessed with geography because we are rural but not desolate.
Yeah.
We're a rectangle inside of a rectangle, so every one of our small communities is actually fairly, it's not like when you go southwest of Midland where you're on the surface of the moon. We have the ability to do these things, and we just appreciate the opportunity for you to talk to your other cabinet secretaries about what the challenges in their agencies that cost you from delivering your services to places like that.
Absolutely. And you're right, we do have great communication in the cabinet from secretary to secretary, agency to agency. Myself and Secretary Burgum have done an MOU together, myself and Secretary Nome, getting ready to work with Secretary Rollins as it pertains to rural housing. I was just with her yesterday, and so again, rural housing is not lost on us. And so that is a priority that we will be focusing on. And you just said about the people in DC, they don't know what a small community is. That's why we can't depend on DC. You got to get out of DC and come to the people. Would everybody agree?
Of course.
And that's why we're here. Right, Governor? Yeah. I did too. Yeah, we go there when necessary. But anyway, rural housing. Y'all, we need about 7 million units of housing in our country. Single family, multifamily, manufactured housing, which is a big deal. And one thing I will say about HUD, you hear urban development. You know, that's what you hear. And oftentimes we think about urban poverty, urban development. But our focus is urban, tribal, and rural. And so I want you to hear that from me, that we focus on all three, because there's precious American people in all three of those communities. And so we aim to be very intentional about serving urban, tribal, and rural communities at HUD. So I just say that for the good of the group.
Katie Jo, you've done some pretty good stuff up there in Grand Forks. What would you tell the secretary that would help?
I would say yes, we've had a lot of success in developing different projects like you've gotten to tour today. We've had a lot of growth in Grand Forks as well. Our university is doing incredible. We have a lot of ag movement, thanks to the legislature, things of that nature. What I think is another area to work on is the collaboration between health and housing. When we talk about Medicaid, a good chunk of the people that we are serving every day are on Medicaid. So that's another opportunity when we talk about eligibility criteria and regulatory burdens. Determining whether people are eligible for services and the annual recertifications or interims, things of that nature. I think there's a lot of opportunity to improve the way that we work together with other departments.
Excellent.
So would that
Thank
be
you, Katie.
flexibility HHS would need to give the states in terms, or do you know how that would be best accomplished?
A lot of the times with healthcare in particular, there's concerns around HIPAA and confidentiality, which is valid, fair, but there are ways to work around it. Other communities, other states have done MOUs and figured out how to kind of do some cross-sector data around housing and healthcare.
Well, I think Oz is going to want to do some of those pilot programs and some of those kind of things. And we have a very innovative, creative, entrepreneurial governor in this state, which means I think some of those opportunities are going to be offered to some states to try to streamline some of those things. And we're a state of the size where you know, it might be a good opportunity for us to try some of that stuff.
We'd be more than
And
happy to participate.
I know Kelly's already been down talking on some of these new programs. You know, like, for example, our rural hospitals, that's $100 million a year that's coming in that we're gonna have to figure out how and they can apply for more. And we're gonna have to figure out how best to use it. What a nice problem to have, that we get to figure out how to do it rather than it's sent to us and say, this is what you have to do. So I think there's gonna be some opportunity in these areas to work through the state, but it's gonna have to be done through the state, you know?
Yes, we're very fortunate to have Armstrong here, and very much so willing and wanting to participate in conversations about how to make these things happen. We want to work together to be a part of the solution.
Excellent. Thank you, Katie Jo.
Who say we should, Rob, why don't you go? We're with Aaron and Sister Mary Margaret and saw some amazing stuff, bringing in the faith-based nonprofits to help leverage this thing. What do you got?
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things from our standpoint and our specialization certainly is not in some of the arenas where others around the table would specialize. Our end is getting people off the street initially and helping them get their feet under them. And from our standpoint, addressing the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. Good. Because I think when we address one component, and it's not a condition of service by any means, but if someone wants to explore those things, we want to be able to address those because we are not, you know, all of those are components that are important. And I do think too, from the standpoint of moving folks towards transformation, we want to do what we can to help individuals because we know that there's such a backlog in getting people into affordable housing that they're spending extended periods of time in shelter or rotating in and out of shelter, that honestly we see over and over that loss of hope. And once we lose hope, things compound. I think when we address the situation of individuals who are homeless, and to your point earlier, it's not a one-size-fits-all, because if someone is working hard to address one area of their life, but they can't move forward because of something else that's holding them back, how can we work on that? We see an increase in individuals who are aging, the aging population, and the impact that that's having on those who are homeless, having programs where they can move into, but also addiction recovery programs, and how many of the folks that we serve have either mental health or addiction-related issues that we need to be able to address those. And so I know that those are not lost in this group for sure, but those are some of the big things that we're seeing.
Thank you, Rob. Oh, sorry.
I just say, so when folks come to New Life Center, how long are they typically there before you're able to graduate them? You know, we were talking to Erin, in her case, it's like 14 months, and that's an empowerment factor that's very important to the whole system. How does it work with you?
So we've got short-term emergency shelter, which really is true emergency shelter. And then we've got longer-term programs like our Genesis recovery program. Genesis is about a year-long program, and most of the guys don't graduate in that year time. They usually get it extended because they've got some other things they need to work on. From the emergency shelter standpoint, we see a lot of turnover. And we had 792 unique individuals last year. 421 of them were new to us, meaning they'd never been to New Life Center before. So we're seeing a significant turnover in individuals just coming and going. And I can't speak to women and children. We shelter single males 18 and over. But men are just so quick to pick up and move on if they don't think that their needs are going to be met. And so, yeah.
Do you track them at all, or is it?
Once they leave the mission?
Is there someone, do you track, you know, kind of, so if they come and they just go, they're just gone? Or, I mean, is there any way that you're trying to make sure you're moving them through the system in a positive way and have some
One-
continuity?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's virtually impossible to stay on top of individuals once they leave us. For those in our recovery program, we stay in contact with, but for those who come through the emergency shelter, there's just significant turnover there. You know. I will say, one of the models that I saw briefly, and just if I can take a moment more, we were just out in Denver at, looking at the Denver Rescue Mission and their model. And one of the things that I think would be something to address for us as a community is a way to give someone who's coming to one of our services an identification that they can use then when they meet at a different service. And so this duplication, we talk about red tape of, you gotta do an intake here and an intake there, it really streamlines that. And that was a brilliant model that Denver is utilizing.
Chandler, you were shaking your head like maybe you had some thoughts on it?
Oh, obviously been seeing me scribble notes on my paper here. I really appreciate having both Aaron and Rob here. New Life Center and the YWCA are just two of our preeminent shelters in the community, serving just a very large amount of our population. And I also think that one of the challenges we have in our community is having efficient pathways out of homelessness, out of shelter, and into permanent housing, right? And as we've already talked about, the availability and attainability of housing is crucial, but oftentimes it's the essential services or interventions that maximize the utility of that housing and help people move out of shelter that are missing, or that are not always, we aren't always able to leverage funds as flexibly as we might like in order to adapt to the individual needs of everybody's unique situation. And so we would really love to see an increased ability to provide supportive services to people housed long-term. We know that that is what keeps people successful and maximizes some of the success and recovery that they may have experienced in shelter. We also know that that flexible, targeted rental assistance is really critical in helping people maintain. Oftentimes when folks are coming out of homelessness, moving into a place of their own, having that rental assistance, sometimes for a few months, but sometimes for longer while they're recovering from homelessness, is just really critical. And then, of course, we need that expanded prevention, intervention, but to intervene before somebody becomes homeless. That's how we maximize the housing stock that currently exists and that what will be built in the future. We are seeing increasing rates of homelessness in our community, but we also feel strongly that we should have a sufficient number of shelter beds based on our population in our community, but it's those pathways out of housing where shelter becomes that bottleneck. I also wanted to share a little bit about some innovative initiatives that we're embarking on here in the Fargo-Moorhead area as well. Right now, we estimate there are about 100 people who are living unsheltered in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And based on data that we were able to collect in partnership with the City of Fargo, our outreach teams, and many others, of those 100 people, we've been able to identify that there are about 20 individuals who are the highest users of emergency services and public services. And we refer to this group as being high visibility homeless. And it is their ongoing presence in public spaces, conversations that we know are happening across the country. These folks in visible crisis just causes increased concern and urgency around addressing homelessness in our communities. We're feeling that here too. So the FM Coalition to End Homelessness has partnered with the United Way of Cass Clay, and we've been able to fundraise so that we, at the end of this month, we will be housing all 20 of those highest service users in our community. And being able to focus and prioritize on that high visibility population isn't a HUD definition, right? But it is something that we would like to be able to prioritize based on the unique challenges in our community. And we're really excited to have that collaboration with folks like Aaron and Rob and many others.
Thank you, Chad. Good stuff. Yeah, you're really helping kind of pull a lot of this together, which is really good. We're going to start wrapping up, and by wrapping up, I'm going to go to the mayors, the governor, and you know, ultimately the secretary to close. But I want to, before we do that, who else wants to make sure? Remember, I mean, if there's anything you want, of course, you can put out there. Again, I really want to give the secretary our best advice, because there's a lot of expertise around this table. I mean, you all are doing it. You're not just talking about it or reading about it. You're doing it. what can make him more effective in this job? You know, he's the guy at the top of the pyramid here. What can he do that makes him more effective?
So Derek Johnson again, Housing Authority of Cass County. Secretary, there are in North Dakota roughly 1,900 public housing units currently that are funded through capital fund and operating fund. And that's millions of dollars every year that HUD has to pay to local housing authorities to operate this public housing inventory that every year gets older and requires more and more and more money to maintain and operate. HUD has created a program called Section 18 repositioning, where basically we are able to dispose of those public housing inventory, repurpose the funds and repurpose the replacement vouchers into a project that will increase the total number of households that are served. So today we're at Monterey and Brighton Place. That site was 60 units that assisted 60 households that were efficiencies in one bedrooms. We were in an 85 unit senior housing complex today. All through that, we leveraged up with all of these other dollars, with the tax credit, CDBG, home, HIF, all of those things come together. But ultimately, it started with a public housing agency that had dilapidated housing from the 60s. In the state of North Dakota, with 1,900 public housing units, we could transition and transform that into 2,600 units that are completely self-sufficient funding going forward, because they're no longer subsidized under public housing. The $30 billion backlog that HUD has for supporting its public housing would go away by one chunk at a time if we could speed up that process. We submitted a full, complete, perfect application on May 14th, 2024 that was approved 2 weeks ago. We've been paying taxes on land that we purchased in 2023. We went through the whole process with the county commission, with the city of West Fargo. We got the land rezoned, the whole thing. Everybody was on board. Everybody signed off on it. We submitted the package to HUD, and it sat for 15 months. And we've had to be passed over 2 different times by the State Housing Finance Agency because we don't meet the criteria for a couple extra points on the scoring criteria. It's a project that's going to happen. We're going to build it. We're going to build another development like you saw this morning. But there are some things. This is 100% within HUD's wheelhouse, within the Special Application Center, and I don't have an explanation for why that is, but there are roadblocks within the agency that I think you need to look at the game film on and ask those tough questions. We finally got somebody who had a call with us in early July, and within 2 weeks we had that thing approved. It just took pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing to get somebody to take a look at that. So I'm down to 111 units under our care here within our agency that we're ready to reposition. We just need to get that going. We had to do 3 different market studies at $5,000 a pop. You start talking about that overhead cost, right, on the regulation. Every year our market study gets outdated. Every year our environmental has to be redone. Every year we have to go back to the same table on the same thing. So again, it's one small slice, but I think it's an area where you've got the tools, you've got the resources, you've got the people. We just got to speed some of these things up, get the development moving.
Well, I'm glad that it got approved so quickly.
Thank you.
That's because it's different people.
Sure.
It's a different team.
Yep.
And we've been working very hard on efficiency and streamlining the process because the American people deserve that. So thank you for encouraging me with that it got approved that quickly. And we want to do that across HUD. And it's not one person. We have a team of wonderful people that are working very hard every day. And that's why I started my remarks so we understand our mission. And that's a great example. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. But we'll continue to work on our processes. Like I said, it didn't get bad overnight, and so it's not going to be fixed overnight. But we are on the fast track, and we do love speed. Everybody at HUD, but
This
also
gets fast. He's really fast.
Also efficiency, So thank you for bringing that up.
Right on, Derek.
Rob, and I'll end with this, and I'll finish my remarks as we close our time. Rob, we are very intentional about public-private partnerships, including working with our faith-based institutions. because every day, you know, our churches and our faith-based entities have your hand to the plow and really have your feet to the ground and doing the work on a daily basis. And we understand that it's been hard historically for faith-based institutions to work with, in particular HUD, because of the scoring and all of these things. But we understand that it takes not just the whole of government, but as one of our great team members said, the whole of country, you know, to serve the people that we've been called to serve. So thank you. And to the rest of the wonderful people at the table, thank you for what you're doing here in North Dakota. Thank you for your service, for your diligence and your commitment to serving the wonderful people of this state. And governor and mayors and senator, thank you, our commissioner, thank you for your sacrifice and answering the bell and to serve it. I understand that all too well. And so just know that as I leave here, I'll be praying for each of you. And when I say that, I really do mean that because we understand, you know, the power of going to the Lord in prayer. And I'll be praying for the people of North Dakota, for those that are okay right now and for those that are in difficult situations. And so just know you'll have that in me as a leader of HUD.
Amen. Thanks, Secretary. Here, here. Is there anything else for the governor before we wrap?
One really quick thing, and because we're proud of this, I'm 99.9% positive that we are the only state in the country with a cabinet member level position of recovery and reentry. You talk about downstream and homelessness, and domestic violence and all of that, and you're trying to fix broken things in DC, which we really, really appreciate. But if you ever wanted to start a new program that'd have the best value add upstream from homelessness, upstream from these problems, the number one predicator for recovery and reentry is housing. Coming out of prison, coming out of an abusive relationship, it's almost always going to be a public-private partnership. And if you're ever interested in the state to start a pilot program, we have an entire cabinet level position to help with it. So, thank you.
Mayors? Bernie?
Secretary, just grateful again that you were here. You got to meet our team. You talk about your experience in the NFL. This is our first team. These are the people that will get the job done. And to Governor Armstrong's comments, he couldn't be more correct. If you're going to have a pilot program, this is a place to do it. I would like to acknowledge, and Chandler did, that the United Way of Cass Clay does an amazing job. A couple of sitting in the crowd out here, as well as the Salvation Army. I'm on the board of directors for the Salvation Army, and the number of people that they feed and deal with homeless people and the like. So there's some stakeholders that aren't here, but they do amazing work as well, and collaboratively with all these wonderful people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You very much understand servant leadership, and I thank you for your servant leadership. This is a difficult area that we get into, and the ability for you to make a change in this is very important to us. You two are going to be an impact player. You're going to be somebody that knocks them down and gets it going. So we're very excited about this meeting with you today. Our staff will share with you any other items that we might say might help us in regulatory areas. But I have a sense that you understand how we move ahead, and Derek's statement was really good. You know, we have opportunities to do things, and sometimes time takes so long they fall apart. So if we can do that, we can move the needle on a lot of stuff. If we can learn how to be more effective, I think you'll do that. Thank you very much for coming from North Dakota, and I'm glad the Frisco connection, because next year we're going to be in Nashville. So.
Yeah,
they moved the game.
They moved.
They moved the game.
Well, I'm so glad I got to have you all for those years in Frisco. That's the district that I represented.
It's a great town.
In the House. And so I met many people from North Dakota wearing those beautiful bright colors. They took over Stonebriar Mall, by the way.
Well, you could relate, being a professional football player, how you care about our team. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to our hosts today, Tanya and Derek, and of course, Aaron and Sister Mary Margaret. You guys are awesome.
Yes,
What
thank
you're
you,
doing,
ladies.
just awesome. But to all of you, thanks for being here. Most of all, though, Secretary, thanks to you, and maybe we could have one more nice round of applause for him coming out safe. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.